Hi, I'm Laura and I am the Outnumbered Vegan. And today's video is based on a conversation I had with my son yesterday, so I thought I would share. We were out of town yesterday morning, and before we headed home, we stopped at Whole Foods Market to get something for lunch. And I got salad in like their little biodegradable containers. And I tried to get my son to get something, and he was just like, no, I really just want to go get something off the dollar menu. And I tried and tried to get him to make wiser choice, but he was pretty intent on going and getting something from the drive-thru. And he's 17 years old, so it wasn't really worth fighting with him over that. So I get my food, we stop and get him something, and we head home. And I'm driving, and I take the lid off my container and put the container on my lap, and he looks over and sees it, and he's like, that looks really good. And I told him, well, you could have gotten this too, you know. And we started talking about the expense of eating healthy versus eating crap food, junk food, whatever you want to call it. And he's like, mine only cost like $3 and something. It's like half of what mine cost. And that's true, but in the long run, mine's a much better choice. Even if it costs a little more now, in the future, it's just worth it. And so, I'm eating my broccoli and bell peppers and cucumbers and all this yummy stuff, and he's chowing down on his $3 menu chicken sandwiches, which isn't even chicken, it's processed chicken, and I don't even know what else is in that thing. And our conversation continues, and we start talking about meat and how long it stays in your intestines compared to fruits and vegetables. And everybody knows fruits and vegetables move through quicker. That's why people tell you to eat vegetables when you need more fiber in your diet, because they just kind of go through and clean everything out. And I kind of had a revelation. I was like, well, would you eat meat that had been sitting out on the counter for 72 hours? And he was like, no, that's disgusting. And I said, well, then you're taking that meat and you're putting it in your stomach, and it's like in your stomach in your own little personal holding tank for approximately 72 hours. And he looks at me and he's like, did Durian Ryder teach you that? And I said, no, actually I just came up with that all on my own. I thought I was very proud of myself, because I'd never made that connection before. And, we keep or at least I keep most of my fruits and most of my vegetables out on the counter. And I eat them at room temperature. And they go into my body, which is warmer than room temperature, but, it's what our body temperature is supposed to be. As opposed to meat and dairy products that go from the temperature of the cow to the temperature of the refrigerator or the freezer at the grocery store, and then they come home and they go into your freezer or into your fridge, and with meat until you're ready to cook it, and then it's heated up to, I don't even know how warm you have to cook meat. I think it's like 140 degrees or something like that to cook it and kill the bacteria. And then it goes into your body at 98.6 degrees or 98-ish. And it sits there in your little personal holding tank for a couple of days. And that's nasty. It's just gross. But I wanted to do a little bit of research about how long meat actually stays in your stomach or in your intestines. And because I've heard, that it takes just as long as fruits and vegetables, which I personally don't believe, because someone that's spent so much time being constipated after eating meat and dairy. And I've heard, 10 days or 7 days or something like that. So I spent a lot of time doing some research and looking for an unbiased opinion. I didn't want an opinion of a vegan or vegetarian that was going to be like, I'll no meat, no dairy, etc. And I didn't want the opinion of a meat eater that was they're all equal. So I looked and looked and looked and finally found an article by someone that actually said that they were a meat eater, but they knew that they should be a vegetarian for their own personal health. And so in this article, it said that it takes between 31 and 96 hours for a non-vegetarian to digest their food. It's a long time. That's, what, a day and a half to 3.5 days? 4 days? I don't know. I'm not doing the math. But and another thing it said is the contents of the stomach enter the small intestines at different rates, which we all pretty much agree to. Your carbohydrates first, your protein second, and then fats last. And another thing it said is eating too much cooked or processed food over time affects the pancreas and inhibits enzyme production. And the lack of naturally produced enzymes from the pancreas will affect the ability to properly digest. Somebody decided to send me a text. Cooked and processed foods are the majority of foods consumed by the average person. This includes so-called healthy diets. And when they stay in your stomach longer, then you start, and you keep eating, then you've got, I don't even know what an average size portion of meat is, but we'll say 6 ounces. You've got 6 ounces of meat. Pack on a bunch of processed foods on top of that, and maybe a couple cups of coffee, and then some dessert. And you've got all this stuff that you're packing in on this meat that digests slower, so you're backing up. One of the problems that my husband has is he has really bad acid reflux, and I tell him all the time, it's food combining. It's the way you're eating your food. And so he's getting better, but when he doesn't, like last night, he had acid reflux all night long. Actually, spent the night sitting up in a chair trying to sleep because it was so bad. And I was like, okay, well, you had some nectarines. You had a hamburger patty and rice and vegetables and Doritos and coffee. Those are not good, and they're not a good food combination. But I just wanted to touch on the food combining and how it's so important to eat things in a certain order, whether you're eating vegetarian or whether you're eating meat or whatever. The things that digest faster need to be eaten first. The things that digest slower need to come later on. I always start my meals with fruit, whether it's a couple of bananas or banana milk, which is banana and water mixed together, or apples or whatever. I always start with my fruit, and then if I'm going to have salad, then I eat my salad, and if I happen to have something cooked, then that comes in. Or if I'm having rice, I have rice and vegetables or something like, or potato and vegetables or whatever. But the quicker digesting food always comes first. And then if I decide later on in the evening that I want something else, then it would always be fruit, but it would always be several hours later. It's going to be like 3 hours, 4 hours later before I have it. But even that is probably not the wisest thing, but I'm also not consuming meat that stays in there so much longer. Anyway, I just wanted to discuss that, and I'm going to get out of here, and I will talk with you guys later. Bye.